All right. Well, welcome everyone. I am Heather Prince Doss. I know most of you, but it's good to be with you tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Callie to get started. And Callie, I can manage letting new people in as you work on introductions.
Perfect. It is so good to be with all of you and those of you who are watching this later. We love that you are curious to hear more about this retreat, and Heather and I will share everything from the vision behind it to the nitty-gritty details and answer some of your questions. And if there's anything that doesn't get answered, you can email either of us afterwards. I thought we could all start with a couple of deep breaths and some grounding. We're all coming in, rushing in from different places. And so I invite you to do one of two things with your hands, kids included. If you want to be open to receiving and you feel like you just need to have an open-hearted posture, I invite you to have your hands face up. If you need a little bit of grounding, I invite you to put your hands on your knees. And we're just going to ground for a second and be here in this space together. Let's take one deep breath in and out. We can inhale and exhale. And we have arrived from all of our different places, all of our different time zones. Welcome. I'll say a little bit about the inspiration behind this retreat, and we're calling it a retreat pilgrimage because it's sort of a hybrid of both, and I'll explain a little bit of that, and Heather will as well. But Heather and I have known each other for a long time online, and then met in person 2 years ago now. And Heather said, "Have you ever led any of your retreats internationally?" And I said, "I wanted to, but I've never been able to figure out all the logistics that go with it." And here comes Progressive Pilgrimage and Heather and Eric with just the know-how and all of the logistics. And so for our first one, just happened this April, we went to Ireland and stayed in the beautiful land of Glendalough with so many spiritually thin places. And the land would have been enough on its own. The history of the place and the presence of St. Bridget would have been enough on its own. But we found that the 19 women who gathered there from all parts of the US, we all came together and really found community and kinship with each other. And it was a beautiful thing, and I even heard some say it was a healing thing for people who have not always had that experience in community or in community with other women. And so it was really, really special. And I know that a number of you on this call tonight were there. So again, I think it's a testimony to that trip that you are thinking about taking another one. One of the greatest things that Kathleen here said is that the retreat pilgrimage allowed her to just be, to not have to make any decisions. And so Heather and I have again put together something for you where we hope that you don't have to make any decisions that you don't want to make. So I got back from Ireland, and Heather and I had tossed around some ideas before we left. And I literally kept waking up at night thinking about this and thinking that I really felt drawn to some of the women who have gone before us, especially women saints. And there are fewer of them on record, and they're spread out everywhere. And so I was like, how do you make a trip out of that, especially since our model, again, retreat pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is often a journey in many different places, and it has become important to stay in place and to learn from a place, or in this coming pilgrimage, we'll learn from two places. But to have a home base and be able to sink into community more deeply together. So welcome, Emily. We just started. I'm just going over the vision for this. I know you're just getting off work and joining us, so welcome. So these women saints just kept coming to mind, and especially the women mystics. I admittedly am not an expert on the mystics, which is part of the reason why I'm excited to go and learn more about them. One of the most famous mystics is, of course, St. Julian of Norwich, and her cat. The icons, the ancient icons of her, always include her cat, who was a companion to her in her solitary cell. She met with people from her cell, but she stayed in this small place in Norwich in the UK. And one of the women who sort of became her companion and who she took under her wing was Marjorie Kemp, who is also a mystic with incredible writings. Mystics in general have just an incredible connection, like a direct line to God that a lot of us think we have to like pray through saints or pray with clergy or other people. And like these mystics are like, I'm having divine experiences, sometimes like visions and wild things that they didn't always know how to make sense of at the time. And so you've got Julian and Marjorie, and then much later you have Evelyn Underhill, who is more known in the Anglican / Episcopal Church as a contemporary mystic. And she did her writing and reflecting in that area as well. On the topic of retreat, which is really cool because we are going on retreat. And if you've spent at least 5 minutes with me, you'll know that that's like one of my big 5 things that I say we need in order to have a just a fullness of life, a wholeheartedness. Retreat is time set apart. And we literally need time set apart from our daily life to be able to experience God, to be able to get to know ourselves and one another more deeply. So, so this dream kept keeping me awake, and I came to Heather with some ideas and said, what if we went to England and embraced all of the charm of the English countryside and got to learn from the writings and places of these badass women who came before us and who I think have a lot to teach us. So I'll say just a couple more things, and then I really do want to hand it over to you, Heather. But part of retreat is that it's different from a vacation or even just a trip, in that it is something that invites your own inner reflection. Some of us don't get quiet for long enough, or don't get uninterrupted for long enough to be reflective. And so again, hence the time set apart that we have. And so a lot of our time in Ireland, usually in the evenings, was spent gathering in community and in guided conversation and reflection. And so I invite people who are coming on something like this to be willing to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is a little of a scary word, so don't worry. I establish a lot of trust before you go in and like bare your heart. But I invite some vulnerability, because vulnerability is what builds relationship. It's what connects us to one another, and we need safe and intimate spaces to be able to do that. So last retreat, the Ireland retreat was not intended to be only women, but that's who started signing up, and we really embraced that and decided that that was a core component for a lot of people, that they had really appreciated the intimacy that allowed, that it felt like a safe container for being there and exploring all the things that St. Bridget and the St. Kevin and the ancient ruins of the land had to offer. So so this time we are calling it a women's retreat with great inclusivity there. If you feel most comfortable in women identified spaces, yes, you're welcome. You're welcome here. Trans folks and non-binary folks included. So Heather, are there any things that you think I'm missing before we talk about itinerary and logistics of signing up and all those fun things?
I think the only thing I would add is maybe to say that I think that we'll have that a balance of sharing and learning on this retreat, maybe even a little bit more so than we had in Ireland, because we're hoping to have a scholar meet with us one day, half for a morning. And then I always feel like with the pilgrimages that I organize, we try to create different on-ramps. So whether you connect with your spirituality through a more academic lens, intellectual lens, or a more emotional lens, or more mystical spiritual, there's like different kinds of opportunities. So if you're not super mystical yourself, like that's okay. That there will be other ways to connect with the story of these badass women, including physical ways as we walk and spend time in nature. So don't be intimidated, I want to say, if some piece of it doesn't feel like it's quite right for you, because I think there are different on-ramps to access the spirituality and this balance of learning with our heads and sharing and vulnerability that we do with each other.
Yeah, and a perfect example of that is that two of the themes of the last retreat were creativity and awe. And a number of people came there. They're like, well, Ireland sounded cool, but like creativity is not my jam. And even those people, maybe some of you included on this call, Corey's raising hand, were changed, transformed, opened to the idea, especially on the creative day that we had. Meanwhile, Kathleen came with her sketchbook and was like already displaying her creativity. But yes, exactly as Heather says, if there's a piece that you're unsure of, there's still a space for you. And yeah, you can put on your glasses and have your notebook and be in your academic mode, or you can be in your marveling at community and the flowers that are in bloom that time of year, and feeding on the energy from others. However you enter in is deeply, deeply important. And there was another thing that Heather made me think of that I will come back to in our Q&A. So go ahead, Heather, please.
Awesome. And Callie, I've made you a co-host, so if anybody else comes in while I'm talking, I'll let you manage that and admit them. I think you get a little ding and then a button to admit.
Great.
Okay, so I am going to take us through the itinerary, and I'm going to do that with a screen share. I actually want to start. So we have Similar to Ireland, we have 2 locales for overnight stays in this retreat. This retreat is 1 night longer than the Ireland retreat. So we'll have 2 nights at the Diocesan Retreat House at Pleshy, and then 4 nights in Norwich at the Maid's Head Hotel. And then on the last day, we'll actually go back to London at the end of the day, and you'll have the option then to add another night at an airport hotel in London, which is meant to be convenient if you have a flight out the next morning. And if you're not flying out the next morning, we're not going to book a hotel for you, because you could choose any hotel in the whole city of London or anywhere else in England that you want to go, and book your own accommodations at a price and a location that works for you. So the pilgrimage includes 6 nights, but we assume most people are going to stay a 7th night. Some of you will stay a 7th night at the airport hotel, which I will book for you. You just have to tell me that you want it. And some of you will book your own hotel somewhere because you want to do your own thing after the group time wraps up. So while it's advertised and the price includes 6 nights, for your planning purposes, I think it's helpful to think of it as 7 nights time. So with that sort of framework about the big picture of the schedule, I want to share a little video with you about the Pleshy Retreat House, because I think it's quite enticing. So hopefully this will work and you'll be able to hear it.
We can't hear it yet, Heather.
Okay. I don't know how to fix that, if I'm honest.
We practiced a bit ago and it worked, but we can see the beautiful images. Would you mind just dropping the
You want me to just
link
narrate a
in
little bit?
the chat, and everyone, yeah, you can narrate a bit, and then everyone can follow up on their own if they want to.
Excellent. And I think honestly the images are part of what's so enticing, just to get a sense of the loveliness of the space. They have this mission related to their motto is, oh, hold on, I just live abundantly. It's sort of this idea of being restored in their place so that you can go out and live abundantly. So just a little taste, sorry the video didn't work so well there, of the Pleshy Retreat Center. That's where we'll spend our first 2 nights, I think with very warm hospitality. I want to say about the Pleshy Retreat Center, they really specialize in retreats. So most of the rooms there are single rooms. They only have 2 rooms that can accommodate 2 people. One of those rooms has a double bed, so 2 people that want to sleep in a bed together. The other room has 2 twin beds. So part of our plan is that most people will take a single room at Pleshy, and we'll reserve those 2 rooms for like a married couple or partners who are traveling together. And the twin room, if there was somebody who wanted to share a room with somebody you don't know as well, there is a room with 2 twin beds. But most people will have a single room at Pleshy because it's really designed for that. So let me just share the itinerary with you and talk you through some of the parts of that. This should work a little better. Doesn't have any videos. Are you seeing the itinerary on the screen?
We are about to. Yes, now we can.
Okay, excellent. I won't go through the overview because Callie's talked about that, but that is a beautiful picture of the Norwich Cathedral. The retreat begins on April 16th. That's the day that you arrive in London. So if you're flying from the United States, it means you'll probably leave home on April 15th to arrive in London by noon on the 16th. And again, it officially concludes at the end of the day on April 22nd, but most people will stay the night of the 22nd and head out, whether that's out home or into your next journey on the 23rd. So The retreat begins in Pleshy. It begins in London. We'll pick you up in London with a coach. We'll have lunch together and then arrive in Pleshy in the late afternoon for opening reflections and dinner together. Very light first day, just sort of settling in, getting to know each other, having a little bit of free time to explore the landscape there. We'll spend a second day, a full day in Pleshy, and that's the morning when we'll be joined by a local scholar to teach us a little bit about, specifically about Evelyn Underhill, but I think she'll do that by way of also introducing us to Julian of Norwich and Marjorie Kemp. So that'll take the morning. We'll have lunch together at the retreat center, and then you'll have the option to go into the city of Chelmsford, which is like a 30-minute bus ride. We'll have a coach that will take us into Chelmsford. And that's really a free afternoon in the city, but we'll have the option to visit the Chelmsford Cathedral if you want to. If you don't feel like you need to see a cathedral, then you can just wander the town, explore its shops and its pubs, and then the bus will take everyone back to Pleshy House for dinner. And if you don't want to go into town at all, if what you need is to hang out at the retreat center, you'll have the ability to do that as well. And on the 17th, all of your meals are included: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. On April 18th, we'll have a morning session, retreat session in Pleshy, and then head out to Norwich. I got to learn to drop that W. And we'll just have a little bit of fun. We'll have a tea party when we get to Norwich, some a high tea, and then a pilgrimage walk through the town to get oriented. And again, a little bit more free time to rest and explore in the afternoon. And again, all of your meals are included on the 18th, with the tea sort of standing in for lunch. On April 19th, we'll stay put in Norwich and do a really deep dive into Julian, but we'll do a deep dive through experiences and activities. So we'll tour the cathedral. We'll visit the Julian Center, which is on the south side of town. We'll visit her shrine, and we'll spend some time with folks who are really steeped in the writings of Julian. On that day, because we'll be in Norwich all day, we are including breakfast and lunch, but you'll be able to have dinner on your own. This is the only meal you'll really have to make a decision about during the trip. But it is a chance to explore some of the local restaurants in Norwich. On April 20th, we will head a little bit north and west to go to King's Lynn, which is where Marjorie Kemp spent a lot of her life and ministry. And we will have a walking tour around King's Lynn with a focus on Marjorie, and some free time for lunch there. Oh, that's a second meal. I told a story. That's a second meal you'll have to decide about. And then in the afternoon, we'll have another creative activity. We don't know exactly what that's going to be yet. This picture is a stock image of women making art. I probably could have used one from our Ireland trip. But we will have some kind of creative experience. We've found a couple different people in the area who can provide that for us. So details to come. And then back to Norwich for dinner at the hotel that evening. Again, northward and westward. All of these days are like 30 to 40 minutes on the bus. We don't have too many long bus rides for any of this. But we'll head out again on the 21st up to Walsingham. Walsingham is a site of a very ancient and famous shrine. It's a shrine that Marjorie Kemp herself visited frequently and spent considerable time. And it's been sort of revived in the 20th century, particularly by the Church of England. So there's a rich pilgrimage center there, a rich tradition of pilgrimage to the Walsingham shrine. And there's the ruins of an abbey there, which is what you see in the image. And so we'll spend the morning at the shrine at Walsingham. We'll visit the Great Walsingham Barn afterward, which is like a art studio / cafe space. And you'll be able to have lunch and then peruse the studios and the shops there. And then we'll go up to Holcombe Beach, which is known for its as a very secluded beach on the east coast of England. And we'll just spend a little bit of time up there before we go back to Norwich for the evening and for dinner. And already we're at the last full day. We'll do a closing retreat session in the morning at the hotel. And then in the late morning or midday, we'll head out to the Norfolk Broads National Park, which is like a lowland waterway marsh type system. And we'll have a riverboat cruise there. I think lunch will be on the boat, but it's possible lunch could be after the boat ride or right before. I'm still working that out a bit. But we'll have sort of our closing activity will be this boat ride and a festive lunch. And when that's all wrapped up, the bus will take everyone back to London. And again, you can choose either to book the airport hotel or to make your own arrangements for the night of the 22nd. But once we get to London, that will mark the official end of the pilgrimage. We'll say our goodbyes. People will go different directions. Those who do opt for the airport hotel will include breakfast for you. So when you get up on the 23rd, breakfast will be included in your hotel rate. And yeah, on the 23rd, it's return home or onward travels. So that's the overview of the itinerary. Callie, do you want to jump in with any just notes about the itinerary before I talk about the pricing and the packages and all that?
I just we really value having a lot of wonderful external things to ponder, but also lots of downtime too. So I hope you saw that there is a deep balance of those in this. And then I will say too that many of our participants for the Ireland retreat came early or stayed late, that extending that travel while you've already bought your ticket and are already there, even by a day or two, was something that people really, really valued. So those aren't decisions you have to make now, but just putting in a plug for if it's at all possible to extend your retreat time, go for it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let me just talk a little bit about the pricing and the packages. Right now we're in the pre-registration period, which means you can sign up for the wait list, but you cannot register for the trip yet. Registration will open for those on the wait list on June 17th, and that will come out by a direct email with a link to register. So from the general public, on June 17th, the general public will still see that the trip is not available, but you, if you're on the wait list, will get a link that says you've been invited to register for this retreat pilgrimage. And you'll click the link in your email and it will allow you to register even though it looks like it's not available. And that will be, the link is good for 48 hours. So that's a 48-hour window when you can register before general registration opens on June 19th at 9 a.m. So we do encourage you, if you're watching this video, or if you're watching this informational session and you haven't joined the wait list, to go ahead and do that, because that's the best way to make sure you have a chance to register before it's open to the general public.
And yes, that's 9 a.m. Eastern. So Anne over there.
I can make it 10 if you want.
What? Anne, I can't see everybody.
So what are you saying? Oh, the 9 o'clock. Oh, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm up at 6.
Okay, great. So it'll be 9 a.m. And
if we don't have more than 18 people on the wait list, there's no need to worry that, it's quite the way it seems right now. We have 15 people on the wait list right now. So it seems like everybody on the list might be able to register, and you don't need to feel like you have to fight people off. Okay, so
Callie,
sorry, Callie, go ahead.
Get it in those first 48 hours before we open it up to the public if you want your spot, but don't fret. There's no scarcity, but also don't dally.
Yes. So the pricing there, it says $38.75. That's the lowest available price, which is for those folks that are in double rooms in both Pleshy, and Norwich. And again, that's very limited, only 2 rooms. So a total of 4 people will have access to that price. But we've tried really hard not to make it too much more expensive. It's only $100 more to have a single room in Pleshy and a double room in Norwich. So I expect that most registrations will be for the single double setup. And then we do have the option for the single single, which means you would have a single room at both hotels. And that is a bit more expensive. The plan right now is to have a total of 6 openings for single singles. So I do think those will be in the highest demand. It might be possible to add more single rooms, but I don't know yet. So if having a single room in both hotels is a make or break for you, that you wouldn't go on this trip if you couldn't have a single room in both places, I would definitely recommend that you register as early as possible. And then here's the optional add-on for the London Airport Hotel. Again, that price is for a room. So if you are going to share that room with someone else, you don't need to both pay for the room. So, and it will include breakfast. And then just a little reminder here of what's included. It includes 2 nights at the Pleshy Retreat Center and 4 nights at the Maid's Head Hotel. Well, I do want to say that all the rooms at Pleshy, sometimes people get nervous about Retreat Center. All the rooms have ensuite baths. Except for one of, I think the double room has to use a hall bath, but it's private for them. It's just across the hall from the room. But all the other rooms have ensuite baths. So you don't have to worry about a retreat center being a little too rustic. This is it's going to be, I think the rooms are going to be simply furnished, but should be very comfortable. We'll have a coach for all of our land transportation. Anywhere there's a fee to go in or where we need a guide, that will be included. You can see there's daily breakfast, 6 lunches, and 5 dinners included. We do include all of your gratuities, with the exception of if you want to leave a little money in your room for the housekeeper. But you don't have to worry about tipping any guides or bus drivers or tipping at meals. We include all of that in the trip price because we want you to just be able to relax and forget about it. And we won't be passing an envelope around that says you need to put money in this envelope so that we can tip somebody. It's all taken care of for you. And then we'll send you some educational resources ahead of the trip. That might be articles to read. It might be a recommended book list. Nothing's required, although I always say that people who do even a little bit of preparation tend to have a more meaningful experience. And of course, you'll have Callie to do the retreat facilitation along the way. And I will be with you along the way to help manage the logistics and take care of you. That's really a big part of my job, is to take care of you so that you can relax and absorb the experience and enjoy it. And then we'll have a maximum of 20 people in this group. So guaranteed not to be more than that. It's definitely important to say that airfare is not included. You'll need to purchase your own flights to London and home from London or wherever you're going to end up. We will instruct you not to purchase your airfare until we have confirmed that the group has reached its minimum number of participants, which is 15. I don't feel too worried about that, but I don't like people to buy anything that's non-refundable before we know for sure that we've reached the minimum. So we'll notify you when that happens. It worked really smoothly with the Ireland trip, but I do want to say it out loud. And it doesn't say on here, but alcohol is not usually included on our pilgrimages. I'll make sure that's clear. So you'll have the ability to buy alcohol for yourself at meals if you want to, but it won't be included in the trip price. And then again, just to be clear, the final night in London is not included unless you purchase it as an add-on. And I think that's it. That's all I have from this screen. I do want to say just a little bit about sort of the physicality of the pilgrimage. This trip for those who are on the Ireland trip, I think it will be similarly physical in terms of the amount of walking. Perhaps the main difference being that we don't have a day in a big city like we had in Dublin, so we won't have to do the urban navigating on foot that we did in Dublin. But you should be able to be, active and mobile every day for 7 days in a row. So you should have enough stamina to be up and about and going out on day trips every day for 7 days in a row. You should be comfortable walking on uneven ground. When we are out, sometimes we'll be walking on dirt paths. Sometimes in Norwich, you can expect a lot of cobblestone on the streets. Norwich is a medium-sized city. It's about 110,000 people. So it's not a small town. So you need to be comfortable, crossing the street in the amount of time that the crosswalk allows you to do that, and those sorts of things. The bus may not be able to pull up right to the front door of the hotel. You should be comfortable walking a block or so with your luggage. So those kinds of physical things, getting on and off the bus a couple times a day on the days when we have day trips, walking from the hotel, maybe a block to the bus and back to the hotel at the end of the day. So for a lot of our pilgrimages, we recommend being able to walk 12,000 steps a day. And we rarely walk 12,000 steps a day on any pilgrimage, but if you can do that, then I feel confident you can sort of do the trip. I don't think you need 12,000 steps a day for this trip because it's just a little bit less physical. If you're not in the habit of walking maybe 8,000 steps a day, though, I think getting yourself up to that level before this trip would be wise. Not only for the distance, but again, for the stamina. And the stability on your feet, and finding shoes that are comfortable to be in all day and on different kinds of surfaces. So I just don't want anybody to feel surprised that, they get there and they go, oh, I wouldn't know I was going to have to carry my luggage for a quarter of a mile. I can't do that. So just to have in mind that, the accessibility is a lot lower in the UK than we're used to in the United States. It's very typical to have to park 200 or 300 yards from the entrance to a historic site and have to walk in. When we're in Walsingham, we'll be walking around the cathedral and we'll be walking around the historic ruins. And again, that will be on uneven ground where you need to be steady on your feet. We do often have people who bring walking sticks on our pilgrimages. And if you learn how to use them before you come, those can be helpful. If you don't know how to use them, you should practice. But I think that sort of covers the physicality. You want to add anything to that, Callie?
I think you've named everything, and if there's something that you're not comfortable doing, there are some options to stay back from some things, but we really do love for everyone to participate as much as possible. So I would make sure that you have the minimum of those requirements that Heather mentioned. I did want to say something about you said simple retreat house. That's the first couple of nights. Maid's Head Hotel, you should look it up if you haven't, is adorable. And it's touted as the UK's oldest hotel. But has been renovated as well. So it's got the old charm and just cute, cozy. It's a wonderful property, and I've met people who have stayed there. It's literally across from the cathedral, and so people who stay there have told me that they can hear the bells tolling and things like that. So very, very cool place for Heather to find us.
Yeah, I think it will be a magical place to stay. It'll have that old charm and the modern amenities.
Yeah.
I am not a rustic pilgrimage girl. I don't want to share a bathroom with a stranger on a pilgrimage if I don't have to. I've done it and it's okay, but
this is not like camping. This is like upscale.
Yeah, it's also not luxury, and I mean I think there are moments that can feel luxurious, but I don't want to give anybody the idea that these are luxury properties either.
Yeah. I wonder if you can say anything about the general weather in that region at that time of year.
Yeah, I mean, spring in England means that hopefully we'll have some warm-ish, sunny-ish days. But the reality is we need to be prepared for rain. because it's spring in England. I was talking with the folks at the Maid's Head Hotel and negotiating about the dates, and they said, oh, it's funny. We like the first week of April was nicer than the second week of April this year. So, in our minds, we think, oh, the later into the month we go, the better the weather will be. But I think we all know how weather is, right? But I do think you can expect flowers to be in bloom, trees to be in bloom. I think we can expect it to be verdant and lovely and beautiful in that way. But I certainly can't promise perfect weather. And we always tell people in traveling in the UK, especially, to come prepared for rain, because we won't change our itinerary unless there's just torrential downpours or thunderstorms or something. And those aren't so common. I think what we experienced in Ireland, for those who were there, was typical. It might rain for an hour and then stop. It might rain for 10 minutes and then stop, and then rain again for 10 minutes an hour later. And in between, the sun might even come out. It should be a bit warmer than what we had in early April in Ireland. But again, spring is just fickle, I think, in every part of the world that has spring. So.
I think another thing that's special is that we are coming just a couple weeks before the feast day of Saint Julian. Her feast day is May 8th, which we determined for another number of reasons was not a good time to travel there, including hard to find accommodations and escalated prices and just extra people in and around the city. But I imagine even those couple weeks before, we'll see people preparing for that and some good Julian energy in the area.
Yeah, and that means if you're coming home, especially, in our Ireland trip, we had about half the group, I think, were clergy women. So if you're coming home to a congregation, or if you are part of a congregation, it might be a chance to celebrate Julian's feast day when you get home, and for that to be a especially rich experience.
Yeah.
I come from a tradition that doesn't really follow the saints very much. I'm Presbyterian. So if you're hearing this and you're like, saint what? That's also okay. You don't have to be a big saints person, I don't think, to appreciate the wisdom and the knowledge that we get from this. Exactly.
Heather mentioned that we'll have some resources for folks ahead of time. We had a supplemental reading list last time that people enjoyed. And one of the books that will go on that this time is called The Mystics Would Like a Word by Shannon Evans. It's a book from the last year or two. And she's also written a book. She's a Catholic lay woman who's written a book called Feminist Prayers for My Daughter. And I've talked to her, and it is very likely that we'll be able to have a Zoom with her. She's done a lot of work on the mystics. And so we could learn a little bit from her and get excited before we go as well. So we're working on some special treats for you all. So yeah, I think we can take questions.
Yeah, I'm ready for that. And
I have a question. My flight from San Diego will be coming in at 11. It lands 11:30. It's British Air. It's direct from San Diego to London. Is that going to be a problem?
We said land by noon, so I think you'll be fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
I love that Anne's already picked out her flight.
She's like, my flight. I got it. I love it. She's coming. Yeah,
There's only one a day from San Diego, so I didn't have a lot of choice.
Of course. As we said, there are spots for 18, because that 20 number includes Heather and myself. So there are spots for 18, and we currently have 15 on the wait list. Some of them may or may not register, and a few others who have shown interest. So I I think we'll have a good, robust, full pilgrimage again. But if you have a friend or a family member that you're like, oh my gosh, this would be so fun to experience with them. We also had a number of people travel solo last year, but we had 3 sets of mom-daughter teams that came. We had a couple sets of spouses that came. And
Sisters?
2 sisters. So, that can be a fun way to do it as well. But you don't have to know anyone in advance for it to be a remarkable experience.
Any other questions?
I was just wondering, who is anybody from Ireland besides us, besides Corey and Ann and me?
Kathleen was on the call.
Kathleen.
I think that those are the ones who have entered or signed up
So
for
a whole bunch of other new people. How fun is that?
So a quarter of the people will be folks and you'll be able to welcome. You'll be old hats and be able to welcome. I'm not calling you old. This is my mom if you're watching the recording. But
Is your mom coming this time, Heather?
I don't think she'll be able to come next year, so we'll see, but I think no.
Trink, we'd love to have you, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but since you didn't come before, do you have any questions about how all this works?
No, you did a really good job of explaining it, and I talked enough to Donna and your mom that I kind of understand how it works, and it sounds lovely. I think it would be really interesting and good for me. So
we would love to have you, and you'll find that if you go, you'll probably coordinate flights with Courtney, and we found that people made connections together. So like a number of people landed around the same time, and that was neat.
Yeah, I'll certainly do that.
And Callie, for those of you who landed so early in Ireland, you made a trek out to a castle. When you land in Heathrow, you're not too far from Windsor Castle. So if you land at Callie there was a group of 6 that landed at like 6 a.m. Which is horrible.
It was our flight got in like an hour earlier than it should have. So it was like 5:30 a.m. and midnight in our bodies or something. Yes.
But they found something to do to pass the time until noon when the group was gathering.
Yeah.
And so just to note that Heathrow is closer to Windsor than it is to London. So
wonderful. So
I have a question about the airport. So we'll be gatherings. Is there one terminal that everyone comes into? No,
Heathrow's a lot. No, Heathrow has 5 terminals.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I do think most flights from the US come into Terminal 3. But I'll be the same as I did for the Ireland trip. I'll be gathering information about people's arrival times and schedules, and will recommend where to meet. Heathrow is also a lot more of a hassle. Like we just had a group in Heathrow, and it took the bus 40 minutes to get from the coach parking to the passenger pickup because of traffic on the airport campus. So it also happened to be a holiday weekend, so I think we were in like particularly bad shape. But then again, in Ireland, we happened to be there during a strike and the roads were all messed up. So these are things that are out of my control. Just roll with them.
Can't predict it, but we had lots of fun in spite of.
But we can predict that Heathrow is going to be more complicated than Dublin, just because it's a huge, huge airport. So, but we'll figure that out once we know everybody's flight arrangements. I'll look at all that and decide where the most sensible meeting point is. And let you know where you need to be.
Heather has you handled with things like on the trip, but just in the months in advance too, if you have questions about these little travel things, or how can I transfer from here to there. She is so knowledgeable. So you'll be well taken care of.
Question about visa. Will we need to have a visa probably to go to England?
So England requires, they don't call it a visa, they call it an electronic travel authorization, ETA.
Okay.
Some of the folks on the Ireland trip experienced that if they had a layover in London, they had to get one. An ETA is valid for 2 years. So if you got one for 26, you won't need a new one in 27. It costs £20. It's very easy to apply for on your smartphone or online. So, and I send instructions for that.
Okay.
Trink, you had another question?
I was just going to ask, do we need to get pounds or whatever before we leave, or how do you get money, or use your credit card, or?
You don't need a lot of cash. Almost everything in the UK is pay with a card or tap to pay with your smartphone or your, but if you want to have some cash, then you can either get pounds before you leave, or you can just use an ATM once you get there.
Yeah. Okay.
And Heather and I will hold a session closer to the beginning of the retreat, because all of those questions about like, oh, what do I need to pack, and what, all of these things will. Yeah. So if you don't remember them now, we'll get that covered too.
We usually do that about a month before. So
in the kinds of clothes, if you get dressed up or anything like that, I'm very, very, very relaxed.
Yes, we don't have any, very few of our trips have anything that requires special fancy clothes. And this one will be the same, but we'll go over all of that. It'll be, some of that information will be, I start sending emails about 5 months before the trip. I send one a month in the sort of 5 or 6 months leading up to the trip. We'll do the information session, and then I'm always available to answer questions in between. So
great. Thanks.
Do you know if customs is in England, or when we get back to the United States? It was so easy in
it'll be in the United States this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Ireland's special. I don't know why.
So no hats for the tea. We don't have to dress up for the tea. That's the only thing I was worried about.
Yeah.
It's going to be private for our group. So, if we wanted, maybe we could like make hats once we get there.
Fascinators?
Yes. We could do like bring headbands and pipe cleaners and some tulle, and we can all just make our own little. Oh, I'm sold on the making a fascinator.
I absolutely am, and like Trink said, it's okay. Like, this is a come as you are. So if there are things where dressing up is welcome, it's just that it's welcome and not ever going to be required. So yes.
Let me stop the recording, and then we can. So officially end the meeting, and if you want to stay on and chat, I'm happy to stay on and chat for a few minutes, but thank you all for coming. And if you do have questions, it's heather@progressivepilgrimage.com, or you can email Callie, and we're happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Yeah.